Hey, welcome to the latest installment of Don't Take This as Gospel. We're covering Dennis Prager's commentary on the Old Testament. It's called The Rational Bible, Exodus, God, Slavery, and Freedom. Exodus is the second book in the Old Testament. He's covering that first because the Ten Commandments are contained in Exodus. We are now at chapter 8, and I came across this little tidbit. And it's in a section talking about the God of the Torah, the most important idea in world history. So basically, this is how the idea of God changed the world. And one of the things that he says in here is the God introduced by the Torah means there is ultimate meaning to existence and to each of our lives. Without this creator, existence is random and purposeless. That people make up meanings for their lives is a fine thing, but these meanings are nothing more than artificial constructs. Now, that particular line jumps out at me because it's something that I've believed for a long time. And one of the places where it came up most apparently was at a Mensa annual gathering. Now, Mensa is the High IQ Society, and I'm a member, and they have annual gatherings. They have gatherings that take place once a year where Mensans from all over the country can come and hang out and drink beer and go to these little talks that either Mensans or people we've invited have have put together. So, like one time we had a guy who had flown on the mission that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. One time we had some psychics come in. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, 2007 was it 2007? Yeah, 2007. The Mensa annual gathering was pretty much psychic fair. So I don't know who organized that, but wow, that was pretty far out. But one of these gatherings, a lot of times there are Mensans themselves who are giving presentations, and there was one particular Mensan who was giving a presentation on the meaning of life. And I was, feeling pretty spiritually adrift at the time, so I decided to go ahead and attend his talk. And it became clear to me pretty early on that he wasn't really talking about the meaning of life. Because what he started talking about was in terms of, here's your talents, and if you can find out where your talents intersect with, helping other people, and then something that you can do to, I don't even know what the rest was, because by the time he got to that point, I think I was about ready to walk out. And I did. I didn't stay for the rest of it. Because what I realized he was doing was not really telling people what the meaning of life is. He was telling people how they could feel meaningful. He was telling people how they could feel as though their lives had meaning. But he wasn't actually telling them what the meaning of life is. And that was ultimately unsatisfying to me. I know I can find a meaning for my life. I can find something that will make me feel good, but will it actually make me good? Will it actually make me useful in terms of, society and the universe and all that kind of stuff? How do I know what my real ultimate meaning is? Not just something that feels good. I mean, I can go and play a video game. In fact, I have been playing a video game for the last few days. And yeah, I mean, I go through that video game and I'm entertained, and I, feel like I'm moving the story forward, and it feels like an accomplishment whenever I beat one of these boss level characters and stuff. But when I shut the game off and it's time to go to bed, I've accomplished nothing. I've accomplished nothing. And so what meaning is that really? I mean, it felt meaningful at the time, but maybe so does cocaine, maybe so does crack, maybe so does heroin, maybe that makes people feel like they have meaningful lives too. But they don't. I mean, if all they do is just sit around and do drugs, is that really a meaningful life? It might feel that way to them, but in what ultimate sense would that actually be meaningful? So you got to look at the larger context, and when I say the larger context, meaning comes from context. And here's a great way to illustrate that. And for lack of a whiteboard, I'm just going to throw up some pieces of paper here. So, okay, so we've got this. What is this? This is the letter P. Okay? It's easy to see. It's the letter P. So when you see this, you know it's a P sound. But what kind of P sound? I mean, it's not like every time we see this letter we say P, you know? It depends on the context. So if we put that letter in the context of a word like poultry, well, we don't say poultry. We say poultry. So it's a P sound. Up here it's P because it's standing by itself. But here it's P. It's poultry. It's just a flat, no vowel attached unless you attach a vowel to it, P sound. Okay, well, even better. How about now? What is the P sound here? Well, guess what? It's ra, ra, because this word is Russia. That's how you spell Russia in Russian, in the Cyrillic alphabet. So P, in this case, is not even a P sound. It's ra. So, what does that say? It says that letters and their meanings are dependent on the context. Well, human beings are no different in that respect. I mean, what we do, the meaning of what we do, is only ultimately determinable when you take all of the context into account. And you know, you can see that easily in the case of things like the police shootings that are constantly generating furor in the streets. I mean, when you add a little more data to the puzzle, then you realize, oh, what I thought meant this meant that, you know, and you hear a little more information and suddenly it just flips things all on its head. Oh, and by the way, there's a really good book that illustrates that. It's a book by Stephen R. Donaldson. He's a science fiction writer, and he's got a series of books called the Gap novels. And the very first novel in that 5-novel series is called The Real Story. And it's a great illustrator of this concept because he tells a story, and he tells it about, you know, it's a short story. It's like 50 pages. And then, you know who the hero and the villain and the, you know, the damsel in distress and all that kind of stuff. You know everything that's going on. And then he tells the same story again, but he fills in a whole bunch of back information that you didn't know. And once you know all this back information, then it changes the story altogether. And here's the amazing part. He does it again. He tells the same story a third time, adding even more information so that by the time he's done, he's flipped the script around completely. The same events are happening in each time. The same event, the same basic pattern of events happen in each version of the story. He doesn't change anything like that, but he adds more information, and the context alone changes the story entirely. Well, that's like our own lives. That's the reality of our own lives. We might see ourselves in this little bitty micro context, but if we could see ourselves in the larger context of things, then, you know, maybe we'd have a different opinion of where we fit into the story, or the larger, or how we relate. Are we a hero? Are we a villain? How do we actually relate to the rest of the world? And that's where we would find our meaning in. But here's the issue now. If knowing more about the overall context, if expanding that sphere of our knowledge out about that context changes the story and might change who we are in it, whether it's hero, villain, or bystander, or what have you, then obviously what we would have to do to really know the ultimate meaning of our lives is to know the entire context in all its infinity. And none of us can do that, of course. None of us can possibly know the entire infinite context of our lives. And that's really the only way you would know what your ultimate meaning is. Now, we can't know that, but the Bible posits that there is a God who can and does know that. So if you want to know the meaning of your life, you can be assured that number one, there is one, and number two, God knows what it is. And when you understand that, you might actually understand a little bit more about the concept of prayer. You know, a lot of people pray and they're asking God, you know, well, what do I do? And the reason they're asking God is because God's really the only one who can tell them what to do that would be consonant with the overall meaning of their lives. So the meaning of life is something that really only God can know. And if God chooses to share it with you, great. If God doesn't choose to share it with you, well, you know, you still need to kind of figure out what to do on a day-to-day basis, and that's what the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible largely covers. And someday I'll go over that in one of these sessions. But the book of Ecclesiastes was written by Solomon, who was asking the same basic question: what is the meaning of life? What's it all about, Charlie Brown? And he went and explored in this area and that area and this area and that area, and he came to a very, very simple conclusion. And that very simple conclusion was basically obey God, do your work, enjoy your labor, the fruits of your labors, and that's about it. And that's enough to get most people through on a day-to-day basis, because we all need something. We all need some little bit of direction to say, what do we do? What am I supposed to be doing here? And that's basically it. Do your job, obey God, and enjoy life otherwise. So I'll cover that in more detail when I get to the book of Ecclesiastes. But I just really wanted to put together this notion that there's a lot of people out there who are out there chasing meaning. And they're chasing meaning, by delving into this pursuit or delving into that pursuit or seeing where they can fit into this scheme or that scheme. And it can all be worthwhile pursuits. It can all be noble pursuits. But if you really want ultimate meaning, the ultimate meaning of your life, you have to go to God for it. There's just nobody else who would know. I'm Mike Partika. This is Don't Take This as Gospel. We'll be back next time where we'll be staying in Exodus chapter 8. I've already got the next topic picked out. And I hope to catch you there. Please subscribe. I plan on coming out with these videos about one or two a week. And I'm going to be interspersing them with my other stuff that I do on politics and just regular pop culture and news and general stuff. So I hope you're enjoying the series, and I will talk to you later.